And we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. A Zimbabwean opposition leader and convener of the Constitutional Defenders Forum, Tendai Biti, was due to appear in court this morning after his arrest on Saturday in Mutare for failure to comply with the Maintenance of Peace Act. Now, the Act regulates public gatherings in Zimbabwe and requires that any gatherings be sanctioned or cleared by police. Biti and several members of the Constitutional Defenders Forum are all facing the same charge after they failed to notify the police of a public meeting. To discuss this further, we have on the line Defend the Constitution platform convener, Jameson Timba. Jameson, good afternoon and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Now, has Tendai Biti appeared in court? What has transpired?
We are still waiting to get some feedback from Mutare, but he was expected to appear in court today for the initial remand, and hopefully his lawyers are arranging for the application for bail. But we are yet to get confirmation of him being brought to court.
And what actually led to the arrest, and how many people were arrested?
Effectively, there were two people who were arrested, and they were at a private meeting, not a public meeting as the police is indicating. And there's no law which requires anybody to notify the police if you are having a private meeting at a private house.
And, you mentioned that they were at a private house, there's two individuals, and it wasn't a public meeting. What do you make of this arrest?
Well, for us, this is the continuation of the harassment of constitutional defenders, which has been taking place ever since the Constitution Amendment Bill number 3 was gazetted for public debate. What has since happened now is that only Zanu PF has been allowed to go around the country debating this bill with its members. Anyone else who is in the opposition or who opposes the 2030 agenda has not been allowed to meet.
And let's talk about, in terms of Tendai Biti being a former, an opposition leader, so to speak, but what is the take on how to deal with the crisis that has been recorded or mentioned as a crisis in terms of the referendum and the fact that the governing party is able to hold public meetings without any issues? What are you planning to do going forward with regards to dealing with this situation?
Listen, definitely we will legally challenge the government with respect to the current crackdown on meetings by members of the opposition. But also what is clearly coming out is that the outcome of this process, even at the level of Parliament, its legitimacy is now in question because people are basically not being allowed to do what the Constitution itself demands, which means debating this bill before it is debated in Parliament, giving us more room to be able to challenge this bill. But let me also say that we remain determined and committed to express ourselves in terms of Section 69 of the Constitution of the Republic, which allows members of the public to protest, to demonstrate, and to petition.
And has there been any feedback since you wrote to the African Union, SADC, and the United Nations about the controversial constitutional amendment bill, which seeks to extend the tenure of the presidency and parliament?
For now, what we have indicated to them is that we would like to exhaust domestic remedies. Okay? So once we have finished exhausting our domestic remedies, including going through our own constitutional court, that's when we will then re-engage those institutions. At this juncture, what we have done is that we have lodged an alert with them. And effectively, from an alert, we will then file a formal complaint after exhausting domestic remedies.
And on another note, Zanu PF activist Rutende Matinyarare has broken ranks with Zanu PF, labeling Emerson Nagwagwa as mediocre and claiming his previous support was merely a public relations exercise. What is your reaction to this, and what do you think is more than likely to happen going forward?
Well, from outside, okay, and for some of us from outside, we can see that the Zanu PF machinery is cracking. The center can no longer hold. What is happening in Zanu PF is that there is no unanimity, for instance, with respect to the 2030 agenda. The 2030 agenda is supported by a faction of Zanu PF, not Zanu PF in its totality. So these divisions and or announcement by a gentleman of this caliber are not surprising at all.
Well, Jameson, thank you so much for joining us. We'll leave it there for today.
Thank you.
That's Defend the Constitution platform convener Jameson Timba, and he was joining us on the line. It is 27 after 12 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. I'll stay connected to Africa and the world with Channel Africa, the international voice of the South African Broadcasting Corporation. Watch or listen anytime, anywhere at channelafrica.co.za, on the Channel Africa mobile app and on SABC Plus, or via the DSTV and OpenView audio bouquets. You can also catch us on social media at Channel Africa on Facebook and at Channel Africa 1 on all other platforms. Channel Africa, first with the African story globally. And today on hashtag Africa Update Ask, we focus on Zimbabwe. And we want to know, with the Zimbabwean opposition leader and convener of the Constitutional Defenders Forum, Tendai Biti, who was due to appear in court this morning after his arrest on Saturday in Mutare for failing to comply with the Maintenance of Peace Act. What is your reaction to the latest news coming out of Zimbabwe? Share your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +27 83 288 6684. Hashtag Africa Update Us.
Download the SABC app and take Channel Africa with you everywhere you go.